Hello, beautiful humans, and welcome to another tweet breakdown of the Bitcoin Stoa. Tweet breakdown is a short format show where we break down Bitcoin one awesome tweet at a time. And today, Eddie and I are going to be breaking down a beautiful Saylor quote, which was tweeted by Jan Pritzker, who is the author of Inventing Bitcoin. Great book, if anyone's interested. Current Moscow time is 1628 at 7:08 219. And as a reminder, the Bitcoin Stoa is a community-funded platform. So if you enjoy listening, you can support the project by sending some sats to the QR code on the homepage at bitcoinstoa.com, or you can stream sats using the Breeze app, which has a really badass podcast feature. And just telling if you enjoy the show, just tell other people about it, because I think the more people that hear about Bitcoin or learn about Bitcoin, the faster we're going to transition over to a Bitcoin world. So with that said, the tweet was made by Jan on November 3rd, which was yesterday. And it says, when you're building a building, you use a steel beam. You don't diversify into clay and bronze and brick. And that was just a freaking potent gem from Saylor. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, Eddie.
Yeah, Nick, that was a really good tweet from Jan Pritzker. Really awesome guy, really nice guy, and really good book for anybody interested out there. And yeah, like another great quote from Michael Saylor, who really just like has such a unique background and like specific set of skills and knowledge base that like I think just allows him to communicate really powerful like message nuggets to very broad bases of different humans and like very understandable. So I really like that.
He's
quote.
mastered communication as a CEO, but he's a fucking rocket scientist. Like literally,
Yeah.
this is one of the smartest humans on planet Earth. And like, thank God he exists, because he's doing so much for the space. Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no worries. And the quote is really cool. And was really fun to think about because this is something that I personally have experienced a lot. And I'm sure a lot of other people, a lot of other Bitcoiners or people that are really interested in the like uniqueness of Bitcoin. Because really, I've heard the advice to diversify from such a broad base of people in my life, my parents, my friends, my peers, my coworkers. These are people from all different age groups and all different generations. And for some reason, like, that's just a thing that's like hardwired into everyone's brains, that it's like important to diversify and that it's really highly risky to not to like put all your eggs in one basket or go all in, quote unquote, that a lot of people say. But yeah, like those were my like first initial thoughts. Was like I literally hear this from everybody, and thankfully it's just made me stronger in my conviction to as a Bitcoiner.
Yeah, I think what's important is you're right. It is like this cultural staple that everyone says diversify. Like you said, don't put all your eggs in one basket. You got these like sayings that are hard coded into our cultural psyche. And I think what's important is like to ask people, why is it important to diversify? Right. And the sort of the case for diversifying before Bitcoin has always been protect yourself from specific injury risk or industry risk, right? Like protect yourself from risk by putting your money into a diverse basket so that if one industry fails or has troubles, you're protected. You've kind of like spread out your assets so that no one fault can bring everything down. Now, this runs into trouble in the new world with Bitcoin, because when you have a tool that's been perfected for a specific task, using other things ends up being an irrational choice, right? Like when I need to hit a nail, I use a hammer because it's made for hitting nails, right? If I don't diversify into wrenches and screwdrivers to hit a nail in, because a hammer's better. And, I think the reality right now is that fiat is slowly but surely collapsing, and every fiat derivative is risky, right? Like real estate is risky, equities are risky, bonds are broken, they're especially risky. And it's because they're all based in fiat. They're all fiat derivatives. And, Bitcoin isn't risky. It's a thermodynamically perfect instrument for storing wealth. And so I love that quote. And I've heard Saylor use a lot of metaphors like that. He's like, why don't airplane companies use different, why do they choose one metal to make their airplanes out of? Because there's one metal that's better than all the others for that job. And to use copper in your airplane makes your airplane less durable. So you use aluminum because it's the best material. And yeah, like what are your, if someone does say, oh, you should diversify and uses that same mantra, like what is your response been, or how have you sort of navigated that response from people that come at you with it?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question because it's still something that I am working on. I think that it's like a challenging question to want to like be as clear and as informative as possible. And I usually go towards the route of like doing my very best to explain the uniqueness of Bitcoin, which always leads me back to the fundamentals, you know? So, but I think like after today's like discussion, just chatting with you and I and like thinking about this tweet, I think like anytime like a groundbreaking technology is discovered, like for instance, like when you build, when the first wheel was designed, or when the first hammer was designed, you know, or when steel was starting to be used for construction of skyscrapers, like you don't just like stop using that. Like it's very logical, and I think it makes really great sense because like I'm going to tie this into like my own journey, is like we're all on this journey in life, and we're learning, you know, what is beneficial, what's going to help us and what's not going to help us. And you know, something for myself is like, you know, I want to simplify things, and one of those things for me was discovering barefoot shoes and barefoot technology. And it's funny because like I had all different types of brands of shoes, and I had big thick ones and, you know, all that stuff. But once you find something that resonates with you and it kind of ticks all those boxes, there's only one thing that makes sense. And that's literally it. It's like, you know, that's what Bitcoin is in terms of money. And that's that really like hits home for me, is because like once you find that one thing, it's like, well, why do I need to diversify when this is literally changed, you know, for the shoe example, changed my entire life, the way that my body functions, you know. And so buying Bitcoin is changing the way that like my financial, like my entire perception of finance and saving and things like that. So yeah, really like powerful tweet. And that's kind of like what I'm thinking now, is like, how am I going to explain to people, you know, why is it okay to potentially feel comfortable not diversifying?
Yeah, and even like use your wheel example with people. Like, why don't we diversify into different shapes of wheels? Because there's one best shape for the job. Like, try it out, see how it goes. It's not gonna go well. And I think immediately when I saw this tweet, I actually thought of a quote from Buffett. Because before, you know, I've always been into. I started working at 15 at a sports store, and I made commission from selling sports equipment. So I had way more income than a typical 15-year-old has. And so my grandfather, who has been an investor in drip stocks, like really just stocks that are reliable, low price P to E ratio, pay dividends monthly. He got me into this whole notion of dollar cost averaging purchases through dividend reinvestment plans. So every month you get paid a dividend. If you have that be reinvested, you're dollar cost averaging and you accumulate equity. And so I've sort of been a fan of traditional investing, value investing. You know, I read The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham, and I followed Buffett. Like I read his biography. One of his quotes was, diversification is protection against ignorance, and it makes little sense if you know what you're doing. And I thought that was such a G thing to say. And, you know, in a world of Bitcoin, if you want to protect your wealth, right? So if you want to invest and make shitloads of money and take risk, probably Bitcoin is not the right vehicle. But if you want to protect your wealth and save it, diversifying in the world of Bitcoin is dilutive, not protective. And I think that's like the key thing. And, you know, mind you, Buffett clearly doesn't understand Bitcoin, right? Like the dude isn't exactly open to radical change. He drinks Coke instead of water. He lives in the same house he bought in 1958, doesn't even have a computer at his desk. So, I mean, one wouldn't have to stretch too far to understand that if a dude doesn't have a computer at his desk, probably not the best person to look to for tech advice. But I also don't think we should throw out everything he's done, because he's one of the wealthiest humans on the planet. So clearly he got something right. And his thing has always been understand something deeply. If you can't understand it, don't put money into it. When you understand it deeply and you determine it to be a very good, safe investment, don't be afraid to put a shitload of money in it, because you've done the work to realize that's a better bet than everything else. If you diversify, you end up going to inferior assets or inferior equities, and you just reduce your potential for reducing your risk and for maximizing your gain. And so, yeah, don't consult Warren Buffett on tech advice. My favorite thing that My favorite thing around him that I've seen around his kind of ignorance is when he said Bitcoin is rat poison, and someone came out and said, yes, fiat is the rat. And I'm like, boom, that's a mic drop. So good. Anything to kind of say to wrap that one up? Nice, short, quick one, but I think it reinforces the fact that Bitcoin is the right tool to protect your wealth. It is the most optimal tool, and diversifying now becomes dilutive and risky in an environment where fiat is becoming extremely risky on all types of fiat. And yeah, final words before we wrap up.
Yeah, Nick, I think, like you said, although Warren Buffett is not the one to take current digital money investing advice in, I think that is more than applicable to talk about the value of learning about what you're getting yourself into. And as far as I was just a really spot on quote, as far as just minimizing your own personal fears and things like that, as far as investing your money into one technology, which is the best technology. And yeah, really awesome tweet, and a pretty good one for this week.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, everyone, to Tweet Breakdown. We hope you enjoyed it. We look forward to creating new episodes every week. We got a good lineup for the next 2 months of tweets chosen out for each week. And we look forward to inviting other contributors to join the party. So the Stoa is going to eventually be a decentralized information source, a decentralized platform for discussion. So if two people want to break down a tweet and send the content over to the Stoa, eventually we want to have a way to be able to compensate those people based on how many people are listening to that I guess, episode or session. But for now, if you do have a good tweet to break down, send it to us. If you want to break the tweet down with one of us, let us know. We want more people to contribute to this project than just us. So if you enjoyed the show, you can support the Stoa by sending some sats to the QR code at our homepage, bitcoinstoa.com. And thanks for listening. Ciao for now, folks.